Hey guys, I wanted to give you an update on the COVID restrictions and the travel restrictions that were occurring this past week and what is in store and planned for moving forward. I got the information actually early in the week, but as always, I like to confirm with my sources, and I do have some contacts, and so I talked to a number of people and did confirm the information. Everybody confirmed back to me that the information is correct and up to date, and so I'll go ahead and pass that on. I always like to make sure to double and triple and quadruple check before I pass on the information. Uh, Here in Thailand, we seem to get a lot of information just kind of buzzing around. There are a number of lower level government officials who make some statements, but it's always best to check with the information that's coming out from the cabinet along with the prime minister, because that holds a lot more weight than just provincial government officials hoping or stating that they hope for certain things to happen. So without further ado, let me give you a kind of a recap of the situation going on this week. So on the very first day that vaccines were available, and they started accepting the appointments and had the appointment scheduled for the first day, there was over 306,000 people vaccinated. So that's a good start. Now, of course, some of the delays that have been occurring is due to the fact that they haven't got as many doses of the vaccine as they had planned for or had commitments to purchase. So the Chinese vaccine, along with the Russian vaccine, those are the two that are most prevalent, but they are going to go ahead and purchase 5 different variations of other vaccines, such as the Moderna and AstraZeneca and the Johnson and Johnson, and so on and so on. And so they have a lot more vaccines coming into the country, so that's a good thing. Less than 5% of the population has been vaccinated, although they're very close to vaccinating about 70% of the people on Phuket Island. So that's great news. Now, what are the numbers like in Thailand? Well, currently right now, it's ranging anywhere from about 15 to 30 deaths, 15 to 35 deaths per day. And then they're getting confirmed cases of somewhere between 2,500 and 3,700 confirmed infections on a daily basis. So the numbers are holding fairly steady. Of course, Bangkok being the number one area in terms of infection rates and deaths. They've had more clusters of infections because they have more migrant workers in the area. They have some market areas that were affected before, like the fish market and the shrimp market, where there was clusters of infections. And there's also a lot more migrant workers working in those marketplaces. Now, there's been a number of construction sites in Bangkok where there's been clusters of infections, and they've done a really good job, the Bangkok government and overall Thai government, in terms of keeping it locked down in those areas to mitigate, to minimize the infections from spreading even further. So I got to commend them for being diligent in terms of keeping it in wraps, in terms of not having it explode like in other countries where, you get a cluster in a certain area and then all of a sudden explodes into other areas. And so they've done a good job of that. Now let's go ahead and talk about the Sandbox Model in Phuket, which may translate into a Sandbox Model in Koh Samui, hopefully, and then of course like places like Harabi. So unfortunately, they moved the goalpost again. So they originally were planning on 7-day quarantine on island, and then allowing you to go to other provinces on the list, other cities on the list that you can travel to after the 7-day quarantine on the island. Unfortunately, they increased that now to 14 days. And so for a lot of my expat friends and a lot of my former coworkers who were planning on using Phuket, not necessarily as a vacation, but ability to fly in there and then be able to get to somewhere else a lot quicker and a lot easier, that's not going to be the case. They are going to go ahead and they are going to have a 14-day quarantine once you get to fly into Phuket, and you'll be able to go to a number of places throughout the island, but bars, pubs, uh, entertainment facilities, venues, those will all be closed. Now, people are saying, hey, they went ahead and moved the goalpost again. They went from 7 days that they promoted. Some people started making plans to travel and making arrangements, and then all of a sudden they moved it to 14 days. I've talked to my contacts and ones who are in the know, who are kind of tied into what's going on. And let me explain to you, this is not a full opening plan. This was not made, the Sandbox model was not made so people can rush into Phuket and start having a good old time and have a party, have a regular vacation. They wanted to use this as a stepping stone to help open the country. They have to take small baby steps. It is Asia, so they move a little bit slower. They've got the vaccine rollout a little bit slower. They don't want to get their local residents sick, and they want to do kind of a slower, gradual approach. And so this allows them to do that. So by allowing people to fly directly in without being in other provinces, and then also by increasing the quarantine to 14 days on the island, and then keeping the bars, the clubs, the pubs, the entertainment venues closed, there won't be an explosion or a cluster of infection rates that are passed on all over the island. And so as of now, they are still planning on opening on July 1st. I did confirm that. I've talked to a number of people, and July 1st is a go. And actually, the Prime Minister of Thailand, Prayut, is actually going to be visiting Phuket on Tuesday of this next upcoming week, and he's going to make sure that everything's good to go. The systems and the setups are already looking good, and he's going to double check everything, do a tour, and make sure that everything's good to go for July 1st, because that's around the corner. And this is not a full reopening plan. This is a gradual, let's go into the right direction kind of mode. And so by doing a slow approach, just opening slowly, in case there's a few infections that do pop up, it won't completely halt the situation and move them back to square one. That's not what nobody wants. And so by doing things slowly, making sure the structure and the infrastructure, the setup is smooth and ready to go, and they minimize anything bad that's going to happen in terms of clusters exploding, by the steps that they're putting in place, that should help with that situation. Now, this past week, a number of areas in provinces like Chonburi and other provinces, they did allow gyms to open, pools to open. You can get a massage as long as it's a foot massage. Those places are open now. Clubs, bars, those are still closed. And I've talked to a couple of my friends who own bars, pubs, and entertainment facilities in Thailand, and they've stated that they don't really expect to be allowed to be open anytime in the month of July. Their thought process and talking to provincial government officials is that it'll probably be more like August 1st or later before they can open up. So hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed, and in 30 days time, that'll be the next step. But I'll tell you, a lot of my friends that are out and about different parts of the different provinces where the gyms where their local gyms and their condo or residence or villa pools are open, they're really excited that that has moved forward now. Now, it wasn't so much about catching COVID while you're in the water. It was more about, hey, every time the pool is open, there seems to be clusters of groups and parties. And by keeping the pools closed, you don't get the groups and congregation of people in one area talking to one another and having a good old time. And so, so a number of regions have opened up and kind of loosened some things up. So that's a good step to go forward in. There still is an alcohol ban. The restaurants in most areas have opened up with indoor dining, not just takeaway food, but indoor dining, which is nice. Some places are only at 25% capacity. Other places are at a full 100% capacity, which is great. Beaches are open in most provinces, which is nice. Um, the one problem I've been told about is that homelessness throughout Thailand has really ballooned and kind of exploded. Some of my friends in different parts of town have stated that homeless camps have kind of popped up everywhere, and it really is a sad situation and unfortunate situation, and it is expected really because um, we've been in this lockdown for over a year. There are a lot of people in the lower income bracket in Thailand, and they're very reliant on expat and tourism and people just milling around. And when we don't have that infusion of money coming through the country, the people that are hurt the most are the ones that are kind of scraping by on a regular basis. And so unfortunately the homeless situation has exploded. Hopefully keep our fingers crossed and we continue to move toward the in a good direction where we'll be able to kind of halt the economic problems that most of the Thais are facing. Now the big goal here is within 120 days to be open back up for tourism in throughout Thailand. So that puts us around the middle of October is the goal. Get everyone vaccinated and then be able to open up for tourists and everyone to come in without a quarantine. Still, I'll have to show a negative PCR test along with a test done upon arrival and show a certificate of vaccination. And then hopefully in middle of October, they're going to be able to open back up. Now, what do I think? What do my contacts think? Well, there are delays in Thailand. Maybe in other countries where they project, hey, this is the goal, this is what we're going to achieve, and we're going to go ahead and work really hard to get that done. Things move a little bit slower in Thailand. Also, the vaccination program is moving very slowly. And so, speaking with a group of expats and shop owners and bar owners, we've all talked about it for an extended period of time this past week during a video conference call. And most of them say, hey, middle of October sounds great, but think more like middle of November and hopefully no later the end of December. And so the goal is 120 days, middle of October, but anytime between middle of October to end of December would be a great target that hopefully will occur. Now, with the easing of restrictions on Monday, we're moving toward the right step. Keep our fingers crossed because the Sandbox Model in Phuket is just around the corner. And then Prayut, the Prime Minister, is visiting Phuket here on Tuesday. And he gives a good blessing and a thumbs up to everything that's occurring over there. They're very close to 70% inoculation vaccine percentage in Phuket area. So that's a really good thing. And so I'll have a lot more information. Oh, there's a bug here. And there's a lot more information coming out here next week just with Prayut traveling to Phuket and the Sandbox Model opening up. And so I'll go ahead and report kind of a mini report sometime later next week once I have additional information, and I've also made sure to have confirmed the information before passing it on to you. So you guys have a good rest of the week.